Laysa, a Brazilian rapper, lost her life after making gestures in photographs that irritated traffickers. As incredible as it may seem, she was not the only rapper who got involved with dangerous criminal organizations, such as QBA, who worked for the cartel doing something terrible. Christian Omar Palma Gutierrez, artistically known as QBA, was a rising Mexican rapper. Born and raised in Guadalajara, he grew up in an environment marked by social and economic challenges. From an early age, he found in music a refuge, using rhymes and beats to express his frustrations and hopes. With influences from underground rap and intense themes, Christian began composing his own songs. He spoke about the reality of the streets, the weight of wrong choices, and the violence that permeates the daily life of many young people like him. But what seemed to be only inspiration for his art slowly became part of his real life. While he struggled to build a career, QBA gained notoriety with songs that plunged into dark themes. With that, he accumulated thousands of followers, establishing himself as a promise of Mexican rap. However, popularity did not bring only opportunities in the music world. Living in a region heavily influenced by the Jalisco New Generation Cartel, CJNG, QBA was drawn into a dangerous universe. With few options and perhaps seduced by the promise of easy money, he ended up deeply involved with organized crime. The Jalisco New Generation Cartel, one of the most feared criminal organizations in Mexico, offered QBA a crucial role in its operations. For a payment of about 3,000 pesos per week, he was tasked with duties, including the elimination of enemies. The rapper, who used his voice to narrate violence, was now immersed in it in a frighteningly literal way. His main function was to dissolve the remains of victims in acid, a method used to avoid traces and intimidate those who dared to challenge the cartel. In March of 2018, the disappearance of 3 film students identified as Javier Salomon, Jesus Daniel, and Marco Avalo in Jalisco gained national prominence. The young men had been kidnapped, and according to investigations, they lost their lives at the hands of CJNG members. QBA confessed that he received the order to dissolve the students' remains in acid. The revelation of this crime shook country. The involvement of a rapper, admired by many in such a cruel act, was a blow to his fans and to Mexican society as a whole. The impact of the case led the authorities to deepen the investigations. QBA was arrested and confessed not only to his participation in this crime, but also to 3 others linked to the cartel. The evidence against him, combined with his detailed accounts, exposed the CJNG's operational network and its influence in recruiting promising young people for macabre purposes. José Duane Ricardo Onfroy, known worldwide as XXXTentacion, was a phenomenon of rap. Born in Florida, United States on the 23rd of January of 1998, his childhood was marked by hardships. At 6 years old, he intervened in a violent situation involving his mother, which ended up leading him to juvenile correction programs. After that, he went to live with his grandmother, where his tumultuous journey began. His interest in music was sparked by his aunt, who encouraged him to participate in school choirs and church. However, his explosive personality led to his expulsion from the school choir for attacking a student. After spending a period in detention, where he met Stokely Goulbourne, known as Ski Mask the Slump God, the two became friends and began a creative collaboration. Together they started attending rap shows and rhyme battles. This partnership resulted in the formation of the group Members Only, which would become a fundamental part of his artistic identity. Despite standing out in the music scene, his life off stage was marked by legal problems. In 2016, he left a job at a call center to dedicate himself to music, but he was arrested a few times under accusations of various offenses. In 2017, XXXTentacion went viral with the song "Look at Me," which put him on the industry's radar. Despite the meteoric success, he was a man surrounded by enemies, some that he himself created. The rapper accumulated adversaries both in the music world and outside it. For many, he was a misunderstood idol. For others, an easy target. While fame grew, his personal life seemed to become more complicated. He faced accusations in court, bitter rivalries, and a growing circle of threats that, in hindsight, seemed inevitable. In 2018, Laysa was in a promising moment in his career. He had just signed a $1 million contract and was preparing to soar to new heights in music. However, on the 18th of June of that year, while leaving a motorcycle dealership in Florida, he was surprised by an SUV that blocked his path. Two men got out of the vehicle, taking a luxury bag containing a large sum of money before firing at him. Although he was helped, he did not survive. The suspects took a Louis Vuitton bag containing about $50,000 in cash. However, the circumstances raised doubts. Why would the target be such a well-known artist? Why act in such a public and risky way? Investigations revealed that the crime was meticulously planned. 50 days after the offense, 4 men identified as Robert Allen, Diedrich Williams, Michael Boatwright, and Trayvon Newsom were arrested. 6 years after the arrest of the suspects, on the 6th of April of 2023, Diedrich, Michael, and Trayvon were sentenced to life imprisonment without the possibility of parole. Robert Allen, the driver of the criminals, was sentenced to 7 years in prison and after his release will serve 20 years on probation. The investigation closed the case as a planned robbery, but rumors about involvement with dangerous figures continue to circulate, fueling theories about the real motives behind the attack. His death transformed the young artist into a posthumous icon, but it also left many questions unanswered. Was he merely the target of a planned robbery or a piece in something bigger? The death of XXXTentacion caused a worldwide commotion. Thousands of fans gathered at vigils, carrying candles and singing his songs in tribute to the artist. He was buried in a mausoleum in Florida, in a place visited by fans from all over the world. His songs remain at the top of digital platforms, and his albums broke sales records, eternalizing his mark in the history of rap. Born on the 30th of August of 1960 in a small village called Las Flechas in the state of Sinaloa, Mexico, Rosalino Sanchez Felix, better known as Chalino Sanchez, grew up amid the hardships of rural life. He was a simple boy, the youngest of 7 siblings, and from an early age he learned the weight of responsibility. When he was 6 years old, his father lost his life, and Chalino was raised by his mother, Sanarina Felix, amid poverty and the constant threat of violence around him. At 15 years old, an event would change the course of his life forever. After his sister was assaulted, Chalino confronted the perpetrator and took his life. Knowing that the Mexican authorities were on his trail, he fled to Tijuana, Mexico. There, he began working as a coyote, helping undocumented immigrants cross the border into the United States. In 1975, he himself crossed the line, seeking a fresh start. After arriving in the United States, Chalino began a life of humble jobs. He worked on farms in the north of the country, washed dishes, and sold cars. In parallel, he dealt small quantities of illicit substances to supplement his income. In addition, he drove for Rigo Campos, a restaurateur involved in suspicious activities, but whose life was tragically cut short. Chalino also helped his brother Armando manage a people smuggling operation. This phase of his life exposed him even more to danger, but it also fed the stories that he would later turn into music. In 1983, Chalino met Marisela Vallejos from Mexicali. They married the following year, when she was pregnant with the couple's first child, Adan Sanchez. Together, they also had a daughter named Cynthia. In 1984, his brother Armando had his life cut short in Tijuana. This event was the catalyst for his first composition, Recordando a Armando Sanchez. At that time, Chalino was arrested and began composing for his fellow inmates. In exchange, Chalino received money, weapons, or other goods. It was there that he realized his music had a loyal audience. His direct style and choice of controversial themes attracted not only fans, but also dangerous enemies. Chalino was not afraid to mention names or to narrate the deeds of figures involved in the underworld. This boldness, although admired by many, also put him in the sights of powerful groups. On the 25th of January of 1992, Chalino Sanchez was performing at the restaurant and nightclub Plaza Los Arcos in Coachella, California, United States, before an audience of 400 people. During the performance, a 32-year-old man named Eduardo Gallegos, who was under the influence of illicit substances, asked to hear the song El Gallo de Sinaloa. After the request, Gallegos climbed onto the stage and fired 4 shots at the singer. There was an intense exchange of gunfire which resulted in 10 people injured. Both Gallegos Gallegos and Sanchez were taken to the hospital in serious condition, but Gallegos survived his injuries. He was convicted and sentenced to 20 years in prison, but he was released on parole in 2023. Despite the violence, the shooting increased the notoriety of Chalino Sanchez, causing his record sales and radio airplay to soar. His success was especially boosted by the song Nieves de Enero. During his next performance in Los Angeles, the club where he performed was packed 6 hours before the show. However, the incident left Sanchez with a growing fear for his life. He began to distribute his weapons and sold the rights to his songs to ensure a safer life for his family, but he renounced any future earnings from his own works. On the 16th of May of 1992, at a performance in Culiacan, Sinaloa, Mexico, Sanchez received a note from someone in the audience that many believe was a threat. In a video, he is seen reading the note and showing concern, but he still continued singing. Later that night after the show, Sanchez left the venue accompanied by 2 brothers, a cousin, and some women. As he was leaving the club, his vehicle was intercepted by armed men who identified themselves as state police and claimed that a commander wanted to see him. Sanchez got into one of the men's cars, but he was never seen alive again. The next morning, what remained of him was found in an irrigation canal near Culiacan, Sinaloa. He was blindfolded, and to this day, the real motive for the loss of his life is not known. The death of Chalino Sanchez shook Mexico and the United States. For his fans, he was not just a singer, but a voice for the marginalized. His courage to sing about forbidden truths and to challenge those whom no one dared to confront made him an immortal icon. Chalino Sanchez left an undeniable legacy. His music continues to be heard by millions, while his life serves as a reminder of the price of facing dark powers head-on. Laysa Moraes Ferreira, artistically known as La Brisa, was born in Tres Lagoas, Mato Grosso do Sul, Brazil. From a young age, she showed talent for music, especially rap and hip-hop. La Brisa began to share her lyrics at 18 years old, participating in groups such as Ghostwriter. In 2016, she took part in her first rap battle and came out victorious, marking the beginning of a promising career. She was also a pioneer in female ciphers in the state, standing out at events such as the Big Cipher of Campau and the Batalha do Conhecimento do MST. Despite regional success, La Brisa aimed to expand her career. Her father, Paulo Ferreira, revealed that she planned to move to Rio de Janeiro, Brazil, to live from her art and participate in national rap competitions. In her last conversations, she shared these dreams with enthusiasm, showing determination to reach new heights in music. On the 3rd of January of 2025, La Brisa disappeared in Cuiabá, Mato Grosso, where she had been living for about a year. Her family and friends were worried about the lack of news, starting a desperate search for information about her whereabouts. On the 9th of January of 2025, a fisherman found what remained of La Brisa in the Cuiabá River. The authorities were called, and the Homicide and Personal Protection Police Station began the investigations. The police chief Bruno Abreu stated that the way her remains were found suggested the possible participation of a criminal faction. During the investigations, old photos surfaced of La Brisa making gestures associated with criminal factions. Although the images had been deleted from her social networks, they raised suspicions about a possible link with illicit activities. The police continue to ascertain whether there is a direct relationship between the artist and criminal groups, seeking to identify those responsible for the crime. The death of La Brisa caused commotion in the rap community and among her fans. Her father highlighted the support received from cultural institutions and the City Hall of Tres Lagoas, which helped with the preparations for the funeral. The rapper was transported to her hometown, where family, friends, and admirers paid their last respects. The circumstances that led to La Brisa's tragic end remain shrouded in mystery. Investigations continue, and the community awaits answers that may clarify the reasons behind her death. Hassan Emilio Cabande Laysa, known worldwide as Peso Pluma, was born in Zapopan, Jalisco, Mexico, on the 15th of June of 1999. The son of Hassan Cabande and Ruby Laysa, he carries in his story deep roots from different regions of Mexico and Lebanese ancestry on his father's side. His father was born in Chiapas, while his mother's relatives were originally from Badiraguato, Sinaloa. Raised in the city of Guadalajara, Mexico, Hassan early developed a passion for music, which began to take shape at 15 years old, when he learned to play the guitar by watching tutorials on YouTube. Despite his emerging talent, the young musician faced challenges, such as the prejudice of classmates who mocked his first compositions, carefully recorded in a diary. Determined, he moved forward, and in April of 2020, he released his debut album, AIK, with 12 tracks and collaborations from artists such as El Choforo, Lalo Reyes, and Jorge Morales El Hilguero. This project marked the beginning of his journey as an artist. Peso Pluma did not take long to reach stardom. Hits like Ella Baila Sola and AMG put his name on the global map. The corridos tumbados, the genre to which he dedicates himself, often address themes such as the power of regional bosses and conflicts on the borders. These narratives can be seen as tributes or provocations depending on who listens to them. It was at this point that Peso Pluma's brilliant career began to collide with real dangers. In September of 2023, Peso Pluma was living the peak of his career. However, while preparing for a performance in Tijuana, Mexico, the threats arrived. The song Siempre Pendientes, which alludes to a group linked to drug trafficking, would have been the fuse for a conflict with a rival gang, placing the artist at the center of an alarming threat. In public places, banners attributed to the Jalisco New Generation Cartel were placed with clear and direct messages. If the artist went on stage, there would be consequences. The show ended up being canceled, and security around Peso Pluma was reinforced. Although the authenticity of the messages was questioned, the content indicated that the singer had irritated powerful people. After the threats, Peso Pluma showed a defiant stance. He continued sharing his daily life with fans and seemed determined to move forward with his tour. Recently, Peso Pluma returned to the headlines after a controversial incident that drew public attention. Airplanes flew over Sinaloa, Mexico, dropping pamphlets that accused more than 25 artists and influencers of being associated with the group Los Chapitos, a faction of the Sinaloa cartel, led by the sons of Joaquin El Chapo Guzman. This group is involved in a violent confrontation with the rival faction known as La Maysa. The pamphlets brought accusations labeling those involved as arrogant, financiers, close collaborators, and even money launderers. Among these accusations, the photos of 4 individuals were highlighted with the word eliminated, suggesting serious threats against their lives. So far, there is no concrete evidence linking Peso Pluma to any criminal organization. Both the singer and the Mexican authorities have not confirmed the allegations, leaving the case shrouded in speculation. Do not forget to subscribe to watch more videos like this.